G'day, I'm Mike. I'm a storyteller. I'm writing a series of novels set on a world I dreamed up. I think this is video number 5 or 6. Should have checked. It is better to do crap than to do nothing. I think many people who try to write or write songs or create art or all kinds of creative endeavors, write an essay, do a PhD, these are all creative endeavors. I think a lot of people struggle with some form of perfectionism. I certainly do. And my current weapon against the perfectionism is different versions of this simple truth. If you want to get something finished, doing anything is better than doing nothing. So doing crap is better than doing nothing. As a way of getting me to start, the logic of that makes very good sense to me. I haven't shared a video for 5, 6, 7 days, and I am sure I'm not going to waste a whole bunch of time doing a personal analysis, but I'm pretty sure I've just kind of looked at all the material that I could do a little video about and gone, well, that's not really good enough, or that'll be too complicated to explain, or some reason why it's not good enough. And then this evening, I was going, well, it's dark now. I can't really do what I was going to do in the dark. It won't be good enough. And that statement, doing crap video with crap content, is better than doing nothing. If I was trying to be a YouTube star, might not be true. Might be true. Got to keep going, got to keep producing content. But certainly for what I'm trying to do, doing is more important than doing well. Let doing well happen when I've conquered the hump of not doing, if that makes any sense. So here I am, and I'm going to introduce you to Spalfurk. Who the hell is Spalfurk? Well, I'm just going to read a bit of the text because this is about writing. And then if I remember, I will go back and explain what I think is interesting about why I'm telling you about Spalfurk, why Spalfurk even exists. So I gave myself a little exercise that I was going to write a video about, but I'm using some of the material now. I can use the same material twice. And that exercise was to write different introductions of Spalfurk, different ways of describing him. Here's part of one. Spalfurk was short for his species. He was also wide, thick, and stepped with ponderous intent. Spalfurk said little, and this was taken as dignity by many within the Stone Garden community. He said little because he was never sure what others wanted to hear. Spalfurk, when you make up names and you don't read them out aloud, that's what happens. Spalfurk walked the way he thought a wise leader would walk. His walk was a declaration of self-perception. He sat at many tables, listening and agreeing. When he heard that a particular group in the garden had complaints, he would visit them. Spalfurk made quite an entrance. He filled a lot of space his species was among the larger kinds on Llanweef. He had arrived at Stone Garden wearing only some cast-off robes he had taken from a corpse. These worn old robes were a far cry from his former gaudy splendour in the low ranks of those born into wealth in his former city. He was particular about cleanliness, so his old robes look aged but never shabby. His robes would swish and swing as he strode heavily into some unhappy tribe's rooms. Sometimes he would be shown back out that doorway without welcome or hospitality, but more often he would be seen as a sign of hope. The large, dignified elder statesman who was known to listen well and criticise no opinion. Perhaps he could use his influence to help them. Spalfurk was sure he could help them. This was the impression he always radiated. Spalfurk suffered from a lack of clarity at this point. He was actually sure they could help him. That was not how he told it to himself. Okay, so that might give you a bit of an idea of what kind of character Spalfurk is. Now, there's a whole lot I could say, because I've written a fair bit about Spalfurk in the last couple of days, and it's a perfect example of a whole lot of things that happen when you're writing and creating. But I can't unpack all of them in this one video, so I'm going to stick with the explanation of who the hell is Spalfurk and why does he exist. See, Spalfurk is secondary. I actually was writing about Murs. Murs, who you will also meet, is a non-sapient animal. Though it's a bit blurry how intelligent his species are, the Jägerjun. Not clear how intelligent they are. Certainly smarter than dogs and cats and bears and the like. And I was wanting to give a sense of the role these animals play in the Palace of Stone Garden. Their size, their personality, particularly the personality of Murs. And so I needed a character that people would not be sympathetic to. Came up with Spalfurk. So originally he was just going to walk down the corridor, full of himself and pompous, expect Murs, a four-legged animal, to get out of his way. Murs will have other ideas and an interaction will ensue that was intended to demonstrate a whole bunch of things about Murs as a character and as a species. But to do that, I had to have enough on Spalfurk, the person getting in the way, that the reader wouldn't really be on his side. But because of the way my head works, I couldn't just make some large, pompous, self-important non-entity. I had to understand Spalfurk. Where does he come from? How did he end up at a castle full of refugees? What's his backstory? That question. And as often happens when I'm doing this stuff, the backstory turns into a short story. Now, the good part of that is there's a whole lot of detail and information in the backstory. The city he comes from, the languages there, the social dynamics that happen there, all that kind of thing, which go into the encyclopedia of Larnweef, which go into informing lots of other stories and bits of the history, and there's 80,000 years of history, so there's a lot of bits of history. So in working out Spalfurk's backstory, I develop content, detail, and texture for the entire world. That's not wasted effort. That's good. But it is time-consuming. It's fun, but it's time-consuming. So I've got now pages of stuff written about Spalfurk simply because he was going to walk down a corridor and interact with a character that was important to me. Now Spalfurk has actually become interesting to me. His city, the dynamics there became interesting to me. How he plays his role in Stone Garden, which is so different from where he grew up, is interesting to me. Why people would pay any attention to him or listen to him. Why he would have influence when he's such a empty windbag. It's interesting to me. As a writer, I want that to be convincing. I don't want it to be convenient. I just don't want to create characters to shoot them down. You know, just he's a baddie, he's a goodie, he's a baddie, he's a goodie. You can do that. And I've read plenty of books that did that I enjoyed reading. I probably couldn't name one of them now, but I enjoyed reading them at the time. And a lot of books, that's fine. That's all they really need to be. I often start off trying to write that way, but I just can't. I get too interested in the characters, the imagination starts spewing out all kinds of stuff, and before you know it, I've got another Spalfurk on my hands who is no longer just an empty windbag. He's also a survivor. He's also a learner. And I actually think I will give him a worthy ending. When originally I was just going to have him be a complete waste of space for everyone to sneer at, everyone being the readers, to sneer at and applaud when he's gone. But don't think that's going to be his trajectory anymore. I have no intention of making him a major character, but that's my Bluetooth speaker, sorry. He's not going to be a throwaway character anymore. Okay. I'm going to end that here. And I'm Michael. I'm writing. I hope you're reading. I'm enjoying it. I hope you are too.